Again, this is episode number 45 of Breakfast with Sergio, and we're going to talk about artists and GDPR compliance. My friends, very happy to be here. Thank you for joining me once again for Breakfast with Sergio. I didn't have Breakfast with Sergio on Monday. Today is Wednesday because it was Memorial Day here in the United States. So it was day off. I took it off and had a little time off. So I didn't do episode on that day, but I'm back here. And today I want to talk about artists and GDPR compliance. I want to talk about what is GDPR and what should we do about artists, as far as artists is concerned. Something that you may have noticed is that in your email, maybe you've been getting bombarded with a lot of emails, particularly last week prior to May 25th. Maybe you got a lot of emails from some of the places that you have subscribed or that you have a relationship with in some way or form. With all kinds of information on on how your information is being used on their websites and so on. So on today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about artists and GDPR compliance. What does that mean for us as artists? So first of all, as usual, what's for breakfast today? Well, my breakfast here is an oatmeal with strawberries. Super good, super good. It has just basic oatmeal with honey. I like to sweeten it with honey instead of sugar, but always organic honey. And then there are strawberries on the side. There are walnuts on the top, which I love walnuts. Love the taste of it, the crunchiness of it. So walnuts on the top, and of course lots and lots of cinnamon. I love cinnamon, and I put a lot of it on my breakfast. So that's breakfast with Sergio today, and I can't wait to eat it. So my friends, what should we do about GDPR compliance? Well, first of all, here's the first thing I need to say. Disclaimer, big disclaimer. This is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney, nor I want to be an attorney, nor I pretend to be an attorney. So this is just a commentary on GDPR compliance. I'm not giving you legal advice. I have no jurisdiction on any type of legal advice. This is just for awareness. This video is about bringing awareness on GDPR so that then you look into it further with your own attorney. So that's my big disclaimer. By watching this video, you're just getting my opinion on the subject, but this is by no means legal advice. Bing. All right. So let's talk about what is GDPR, because like I said, you may be getting a lot of emails with compliance and how they're using your data and so forth. Well, GDPR is it's a short for General Data Protection Regulation. General Data Protection Regulation, which is a regulation law on data protection and privacy for all individuals within the European Union. So this applies to people in the European Union, all right? It came into effect already, so it's already active. It came into effect on May 25th of 2018, so pretty much last week this came into effect. The law aims to give EU citizens more control over their data and knowledge on how their data is being used or not used, for how long, and so on. So it's actually, in my opinion, it's actually a good thing. I think, with all the information and data that big companies such as Google, Facebook, and Amazon, everybody else collects from us, they know everything about us, and I think it's a good thing to have those regulations for such companies that have so much access to who we are, to what we do, to how we spend our money, to everything else. So I think these types of laws, in my opinion, I think are good. Now, the only thing is that sometimes, these big regulations may also affect everybody because our data is everywhere. So the GDPR, although it applies to the European Union and citizens of the European Union, it also affects just about everybody else because this is an interconnected world. We are all interconnected in many ways through social media, through online, through our websites, through the things that we do online. And I think it's important to be aware of those things. So now, I'm as an artist, those that affect me, those an artist, maybe as an artist here in the United States, those the GDPR law affects me in any way. Should I worry about it? Should I be concerned about it? Well, first thing is you should not, go crazy, and it's not the end of the world. It's not, you should not be in panic mode at all. You just have to be aware of what's going on and what are the things that you need to do. And like I said, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just giving you awareness so that, you just look into what you might need to do. Check with your own attorney on the specifics of your actions that you need to take to be compliant if you do in any way or form business with people in the European Union, or if you collect data from them. So let me be more specific. How does it apply to me as an artist and in working in the EU? Well, it applies to me in two ways. One, because I have a coaching business, and in the coaching business, which is the Artist Next Level business, so we do coaching for artists and through the artistnextlevel.com, and so we have a lot of artists that we work with in the European Union. So that's a separate thing. I'm working on compliance with that. We already did what we had to do as a company to be compliant with the GDPR. Now, that's one thing. Now, as an artist myself, in my website, I also collect data from people. How? Through my email list, right? I have an email list. So probably if you're an artist, you probably have also an email list as well. And you may want to think about this, because if you have an email list, that means that you are collecting data from people. So if you collect data from citizens of the EU, this GDPR law will affect you as well. So now I'm going to give you just 5 basic things to keep in mind for you to think about as that. How you collect data. So you collect data from people by, if you have an email sign up list on your website, which I think most artists do. If you have a Facebook pixel, well, the Facebook pixel plugged into your website is collating data from every single person that looks at your website. If you have Google Analytics installed in your website, that also collects data also as well from people, from visitors to your website. So even, without thinking too much, you're actually collecting probably data from people who are coming in. So in some way or form, it does, the GDPR EU law affects you in some indirect way or some direct way. Depends also how big your art business is, and how much business you do, how much traffic you have, and so on. Again, every case is different, everyone is different. So just 5 little quick things to think about that I think are good for artists. One is, and this one applies to everybody, not just EU, but I think it's just a good advice, which I've always talked about, is never add people to your email list that did not give you consent to be on your list. Never add anyone to your list that did not give you permission. In other words, when you go to an opening, somebody gives you a card, don't just automatically add them to your list. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that. I'm in so many lists that I've never requested to be for artists. If an artist asks me to add me to the list, I always say yes, but I always give him the email that I want that to go to, because I have an email that I use that I like to use and read. That's where I read all my emails and promotions and artist newsletters. As a curator, I'm always looking at artists. But when I'm at it, sometimes I may have an artist who put me like in my 4 different email accounts, so I get the same email from 4 times. So that's really annoying. Never do that. Always ask people if they give you consent to add them to your list. The same when you're on your website, make sure that you have a checkbox where they give you consent to be added, your consent people to be added to the list. That's something that I think everyone, good practice, everyone just in general should be doing all the time. Never add people without their consent. And if you use MailChimp, or if you use ConvertKit or Drip or any other Constant Contact, any other email service that provides opt-in box in your website for email, most of them are already working on GDPR compliance, or I assume they're already compliant to that. So you can check with them, what do they have that you can use also to be completely GDPR compliant in your website, which might be a pop-in bags with a little bags to where the person will check in to make sure that they understand that they've been added to your email list and what you're gonna do with that list. So that's the first one. Do not add people to your list without their consent. Simple. That's good for everybody. Another piece of advice in terms of GDPR compliance is add a privacy policy to your site. Something that maybe you haven't thought about. But the privacy policy, pretty much what it is, it gives information on how you're using the information that you are collecting from people. The email, the name, and the email that you're collecting from people. How you use it, how long you're planning to keep it, what are they getting, in exchange for that, what other third-party products or services you use as well, and so on. How can they unsubscribe and things of that nature. So this is something that you can check with your particular attorney if you want help on that, but you should have at the bottom of your website, if you're collecting people email, you should have a privacy policy, something that you will be seeing more and more often now because of the GDPR compliance EU rule. So, I'm sure there will be a lot more information coming out that will be helpful for you. Another one, number 3, is always have an option to unsubscribe whenever you send out emails, announcements. Always give the option where people can really easily unsubscribe. Most email providers of email marketing will have at the bottom unsubscribe. Never delete that. Always leave it there. So that a person who receives your emails always have the option when say I don't want to receive emails anymore, and then you can click on it and it's fine. Always provide that. Number 4, don't share your list with anyone else. I think that should be obvious. Don't share it with anyone. If you have an email list of people, keep it to yourself. Use it as you promised to use it. Never share it. Never exchange it with someone else. Don't over spam people. If you promise people that you want to email them once a month, do that. Don't do it every 3 days. Again, it all depends what you're doing, that you need to take actions on this GDPR compliance, particularly for people in the EU. If this doesn't apply to emails that you have gotten, let's say, from other places outside of the EU, but sometimes it's very hard to differentiate who is and who is not. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. And the last one, number 5, very important, is consult with your attorney. I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be one. This is not legal advice. I'm just telling you to be aware of those things that are happening, because those will affect us in some way or another. Get good practices. Follow some of these things that I mentioned. And number 5, consult with your attorney. Now, my creative attorney of choice is creativegeniuslaw.com. Go to www.creativegeniuslaw.com. I will post the link under the video. They just recently actually did a webinar on GDPR compliance for creatives. Super cool. It's 45 minutes long. Gives a lot of information. They have it posted in their blog and their website. You want to check that out if this is something that you are more interested on knowing about. Just go to www.creativegeniuslaw.com, and they are the people that can help you out with any questions that you may have on that regard. So my friends, thank you for watching Breakfast with Sergio. Super happy. It's a beautiful day here outside. Can't wait to get my day going, my day started. The sun is going in and out, as you can see here in the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share with your friends. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Sergio Gomez Projects. Also, if you want to check out the library of Breakfast with Sergio episodes, just go to YouTube and just Google or search Breakfast with Sergio. You will find it there. Or also, if you love podcasts, you can find me in Google Play, in iTunes, in Anchor, in Podcaster, and in a bunch of other ones that I can't even remember. So just Google Breakfast with Sergio, and it will be right at the top of the page all the time, every time. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your breakfast. I'm about to eat my delicious oatmeal, and you're so good.